This session brought to you by Odyssey Games for pre-orders and sealed product, CCG Prime for tons of singles and supplies, Cardo Doko for international rulers looking for product, and fowtlibrary.com for articles and wonderful deck lists, as well as our guest lecturer members Vite Ramen, King Pearl Shine, and Mognite. Class is in session.
And not in the altered.
Hey there, rulers! Welcome back after a long week of Force of Will to your favorite ever live Force of Will podcast. It's Office Hours featuring myself, DMO73, and I'm joined today by Babatunde. Babatunde, how's it going, bud?
Hello. How's it going?
Glad to have you.
I'm
We're
glad
going
to
to talk
be
about
here.
some spoilers.
Oh,
Talk
absolutely.
about some green cards.
Yeah,
gonna
a
be
lot
a
of
good
green
time.
cards.
Lot of green cards, and then a few white cards, but a lot of green cards.
A few white cards,
Yeah, a couple white cards. That's weirdly the irony of the fact that like we started talking about spoilers last week, and I almost kind of wish we hadn't, because then like tonight we'd just be able to like start at Olga and work all the way through, and it's like, now we already talked about the ruler last week. We'll have to wait. I'm like, dang it, it just didn't quite work out. So tonight we're going to be talking about Olga cards, and then ending with our new ruler that was spoiled today. Do just want to say, as always, if you like what we're doing, want to consider supporting the channel, you can click that join button down below to join the channel as a member. You can also consider just sending a super chat or giving thanks. Those are ways to financially support the channel, or just subscribing and sharing out the videos. We appreciate that too. Also, what magic made Paul disappear? Work. That's what made Paul disappear for tonight. Also, if you haven't already checked it out, Odyssey Games has, as far as I know, as of this live stream, restocked on their website. So if you go check out the link in the description, you can go get your pre-orders in for boxes. Keep in mind that if your locals is selling boxes, go to your locals first, obviously. But if you are needing to pick up and your locals doesn't have those boxes available, you can pre-order through Odyssey Games. Link in the description for that. Okay, so we got what is arguably one of the most complicated contracts that we've ever seen to start things off. This is the Sword of Progression. It is a Marvel rare, which I'll talk about in a second. Choose up to X, where X is the number of times you've already played a card named Sword of Progression in this game. Choose options in chronological order without skipping them, beginning with the first option. So the fourth option can only be chosen if X is 4. Nice little reminder text there. So like it's always going to draw a card first.
Right.
If you control a card named Magog Artificial Eclipse, remove this card from the game as it's resolved. And then the 4 modes are draw a card, cancel target spell, bounce target resonator or addition to its owner's hand, and then contract. So, before I get into the nitty-gritty of this card, on face value, Babatunde, what are your thoughts?
So at first, like the first time I saw this card, I was like, okay, seems decent enough, but you just got to get your way up to it. But if you have 4 copies of a card, especially with all the search spells that we have, this can get out of hand pretty quickly.
Yeah, for sure. And he certainly has a card that we'll see later that really makes it useful to like have the same one start on, you know, like just cast the same one over and over again. Plus we have things like spinning Aqua Soul to like buy it back from the graveyard and use it again.
Exactly.
So the whole idea of this card at reading of face value, before we get into the nitty gritty of what's come out of it, is first thoughts are: first time is draw a card, second time is draw and bounce, second time is draw cancel, third time is draw cancel bounce, fourth time is draw cancel bounce contract.
Right.
So that's what it seems like, which is, first off, note that you have to have something to target and have to have something to bounce if you're trying to go for the 4th mode, right? Because you have to have targets for everything.
Exactly.
However, here's where the nitty gritty of this card works. There's a bunch of debate right now with the way that the CR is worded about when modes and targets are chosen before something is considered have being played as something has been considered cast. And so the current kind of argument right now is with CR as written and card as written, although we've been told that an errata to clarify is on the way and probably going to be in the Q&A document, is that the first time you cast this card when you have to choose modes is before you have technically played the card.
Okay.
So wording as written would mean first time do nothing, second time draw card, third time draw cancel, fourth time draw cancel bounce, fifth time draw cancel bounce contract. Hold on 1 second.
Okay, no problem.
Talk about that while I'll be right back.
Okay. It's me in the chat now. In all honesty, for the fairness of the card, I don't hate it the way it's currently. I guess the rules are currently. I don't know, how does everybody else feel about it? I mean, to me, it's almost like kind of busted card, but I mean, that's me a little bit. It's a cool looking card, makes my brain hurt. Yeah, it's a pretty wordy card. I'm glad we haven't quite gotten to the Yu-Gi-Oh way of writing cards, so having whole paragraphs. But card sucks if you have to choose all modes. I think that's kind of the purpose though, because I think for one, especially for one green, having all these abilities, I think there should be a drawback to it. Like you can't just have a powerhouse of a card on one for one
Yeah,
will.
for sure.
To me
For sure. I
personally,
would agree.
um,
I would agree.
I feel like there should be some stipulations to the card and just not be go crazy for one.
So that's caveat 1 of this card. Caveat 2, in current wording, is if you do not control a card named Magog Artificial Eclipse, remove this card from the chase as it resolves.
Right.
Remove this card from the game as it resolves. So if you get to the 4th mode of contract this card, the card moves from the chase. The act of contracting is moving a card from the chase to the field on its contract side. But if you don't own Magog, does the act of contracting and fulfilling that requirement bypass the remove this card from the game as it resolves of Magog? So that's personally under the moniker of what it means to contract.
Right.
My thought would be the act of contracting is take this card from the chase, flip it to its J ruler side, put it into the field. So you would resolve that and then check to see if it gets removed
if the card is still right. Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. So I think that wording is not a big thing. However, it has caused some drama, and I'm sure a Q&A question will pop up with that when the official set is released. So this card is confusing. But honestly, a pretty cool card design. I really do think it's probably going to be first time draw, second time draw, cancel, like at the end of the day, because it's the same wording as Prisia. But the weird thing about Prisia was like the Prisia Resonator referred to the Prisia spell, so like they were the same card, whereas this is like referring to itself, so it's kind of weird. Overall, though, very cool, and I think we have to talk about what the contract looks like on the other side, which is Genesis Chrono Gear, 2020 Precision Flying Pierce Eternal Barrier. Enter, recover up to 2 magic stones you control, and whenever this card blocks, recover it. So just like this immovable wall, essentially. Keep in mind that there are actually ways, even though it has Eternal and Barrier, to remove both of those keywords. Anything that blanks it. We also have that Fire card, the 1-drop red, to like wipe everything that has that. So keep that in mind. Might be a sideboard tech based on how good this card gets. This is very cool. This feels like it has the same kind of vibe as like Double Flip Alhamat, where like we really built up resources over the course of the game, and now we slammed the big bad. That's like, okay, cool, the game's over. This has that same kind of vibe to me, and I'm here for it. As like very clearly Olga is like the big bad, and so giving him this is very, very cool.
I'm all for robots and Gundam looking things.
Yeah, pretty friggin' sick looking. Like the artwork of it, we talked about this last week. The artwork is absolutely gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
I'm really glad that it doesn't have swiftness.
Yeah, I was actually looking at that as well. I was like, for how many keywords this card has, thank God swiftness is not one of them.
I mean, it does have quick cast, so like you can just like cast it and quick cast it at the, there are ways to get to it during your opponent's turn.
Right.
But like even flipping it on your turn still feels very good because it's just going to
Mhm.
block everything your opponent tries to swing with, which is just fine to me.
Right. I mean, with the current wording, you kind of have to cancel something anyway. So it's kind of like you have to react to your opponent regardless. Or, I mean, you can cancel your own stuff too, I guess. But hey, whatever.
Cancel your
But
own
you're
stuff.
crazy.
Just pull a Reflect Refrain and cast a Rogue Spectator from the sideboard. It's fine.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. I mean, hey, I've seen
If it
crazier
gets
things in
you,
this game.
if it gets you a big old mech, it gets you a big old mech, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
One thing to talk about though with this card is that this was shown with set one. Set one was the last time we had a Marvel Rare contract. And so let's talk about some context for that. This set has been known to have a total of 6 contracts.
Oh, I didn't know that actually. Okay.
Four rares, 1 super rare, and 1 Marvel. We've seen the Marvel. And so I'll point out that Aristella, when he was spoiled, he was the one who had the 2 contracts in set 1.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And they spoiled Fairy Tale King before they spoiled the mech.
True.
I will also say that rarities for Marvels in set 1 and set 2 beyond the mech meant absolutely nothing in terms of like whether it was a rare or a super rare didn't matter. It was just like that's the rarity they slapped onto it. Now we know that contract rates have been boosted for set 3, but I genuinely believe that there is a chance that Olga is probably going to get a second contract, and the fact that this is a Marvel rare means absolutely nothing.
Right.
Like it's just going to be the one that you like. It's just going to happen to be the one that you always see paired up with Olga, but you'll also be able to get his other contract in other ways, or pull this card in a Marvel rare slot. You'll also be able to pull this card in a Marvel rare slot by itself, or whatever less like that. I genuinely don't believe that it's like, so I'm very curious upon seeing this, what Olga's other contract is probably going to be. Again,
And
pure speculation.
it's probably gonna. Well, I mean, obviously we're going to the other cards as well. It's probably gonna have a similar name on the front, or like we were talking about earlier, gonna act like the sort of
Sure.
Genesis. Mm.
Yeah, for sure. Didn't Germany say you can choose just one mode provided you've played it enough times? No, I don't believe so. I that's again a Q&A element because it specifically says starting with the first. And
Yeah.
so like the first mode is like you have to start with draw a card. I think Asuka's getting the super rare contract. Okay, very potential. I could see
Which,
that as well.
I don't
Unless the
know.
other
Is
contract
she
counts as
relevant
sort of
in the
progression. Yeah.
story for this?
Mm. We'll find out.
Yeah, I guess.
Let's keep moving forward though. Next up, we have the Sword of Regression. This card is bad. Moving on. I'll just talk about it real quick. So it's 1 green, 2 colorless. Rest all magic stones your opponent controls. Draw a card. Mastery Olga Eclipser. The reason why this card is bad is because every card in Force of Will's history, regardless of color, that is tap all your opponent's stones down, that aren't quick cast, are all bad, and even those that are quick cast are usually bad. So
I
I think
never
the
noticed
only one that's
that this wasn't quick.
the only one that's ever been relevant was in altar format with Athenia. That's literally the only time tap down your opponent's stones has ever been relevant. It's
Right.
never been good. So just keep that in mind. So not really much to say to that card. Next up, we have the Descent of Olga.
Mhm.
Falchion's getting it. Maybe that'd be neat. Card is missing some words. So, Descent of Olga, 2 green. You may pay 1 less to play this card if you control an addition named Magog. Cancel a target spell unless its owner pays 1, so it's a wall of wind. Additions named Magog are Artificial Eclipse. You control gain tap. This card deals 700 damage to target J/Resonator.
Now,
Go for it.
is that second effect permanent now? Because it doesn't say to end of turn. So
I kind of want it to be.
right.
I kind of really want it to be. Because Olga wants to be spending his will on sort of progression. Like, he wants to be investing the will into that. And so, as a green deck, green typically doesn't have great spot removal anyway. And so giving him the ability to like invest in these additions that not only potentially sculpt his hand if he needs them, but also can serve to help spot remove, I'd be fine with, right? Because
Right.
like you resolve it once, sure, and then you have this like spot removal that's repeatable, but like cool, you only have to resolve this spell once, but then like the other copies are just like, well, I guess I have cancels.
Right.
Sure. It feels that like that to me feels fine to give it to them until the end of the game, because then you also need to like have multiple Magogs and like choose whether to ping something or not. Like it feels
It's
fine
true.
to me if it doesn't.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah, and Wallowinds in general like have been way easier to play around in Forcible's history for a very long time. Like ever since like Energize made Wall of Wind not as good, but most of the like single will Wall of Winds we've had over time, like Wall of Wind-esque cards over time, just
Mm.
don't end up being that great.
Yeah.
So like,
No one can be like the OG.
yeah. Um I think you think it's missing until end of turn. I don't think it is. And if it isn't, I mean I'm fine either way. Like
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
fine
either
either
way, I
way.
feel like it still gets
It turns it into a
what it's
one
supposed to do.
drop like removal spell, right? Like a
Right.
mini removal spell where you just like use your Magogs for a turn if you need it. It's fine
Mm.
either way for me. Beautiful artwork though. Can't wait to get that
Oh,
card full art. It's gonna look sick. Next up we have Overwhelming Difference of Power. Our boy Justice getting absolutely clocked in this artwork.
bruh.
One
I heard
one
him.
green, one colorless. Destroy a target non-magic zone entity. Total cost extra less, where X is the number of times you've already played sort of progression. Mastery Olga. The fact that this card has Mastery Olga, I think, is what saves it. Other than that, it's a removal spell. It's stoning to death. There's no, I mean, like the fact that it can hit anything is very nice, right? It can hit anything that's not a stone, gives it a lot of flexibility. But Olga, like much like many of the big bad evil guy rulers in Forcible's history, continues to be all about like all of them have been invest, invest to the lake, all Hamat. Let's build up a bunch of magic counters, like. Everything has like all of our big bad evil guys have just been like invest, invest, invest,
Yeah,
and then
build
they'll
up
pay
to the late
off.
game. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Oh,
Olga feels the same way, which I'm like, cool, that's fine. I don't mind it.
yeah. Yeah, I don't hate. I don't hate like all of this so far.
Yeah, it's been good. Um, yeah. Also, yeah, Justice getting absolutely rocked. Patrick says he's about to join us, so give
Okay,
us
cool.
1 second. When Patrick joins in, we'll have a third voice to kick into our next one.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. We'll save the next card.
Showed this card at D&T on Friday, and he busted out laughing because of the artwork. Yeah. Just like absolutely clocked. Just
I'm hurt. I'm like, no,
get out of here.
not my favorite ruler. Of this cluster.
Let's see. What was the other card on this one? Oh yes, the last card of that one was Wings of Genesis. 1 green, 1 colorless. You pay 0. Not you may pay. You pay 0. Oh, here's Patrick. Cool.
There you go.
I'm gonna minimize us here so I can re-grab everybody's faces
All right, cool, cool, cool.
here. A little bit of movie magic here as we get started. It's Patrick.
What's
Never
going
mind
on,
the
buddy?
fact that I need a haircut very badly.
Don't worry about it, Patrick. It's okay.
Should just wear a hat.
Here's Patrick. We're talking about Wings of Genesis right now.
I see.
So you pay 0, not you may pay 0. You pay 0 to play this card if you have a J ruler was put into play by a contract you control this turn. Choose one. Target J/Resonator gains swiftness until end of turn. Target J/Resonator loses all abilities until end of turn. Then, if you control a card named Genesis Chrono Gear, destroy it. And whenever a J/Ruler is put into a field by a contract chant you control, put this card from your graveyard into your field. Asuka says thank you.
Yeah, essentially yes. Essentially yes.
Asuka says thank you. I mean, like this is probably a card that you play as a one of in Olga, especially since like you maybe played more of it from some until we saw like his stone get spoiled. Then you're like, I don't care. Like you probably play it as a one of, very similarly to the way that you would play like a single copy of the Ultra Instinct spell, Ultra Awakening, you know, with Gil. But this is a great card for Asuka. Asuka absolutely adores this card.
Absolutely. If anything, this is like the perfect card for her to set. Like, if anything, if you're not gonna pick a card from the set, like if you're not gonna pick up this set,
at least pick up this card, right? If you're playing Asuka, because the other thing too is like you're probably gonna mill it.
Yeah, just mill it, and then when you contract, you just get to put it back in your hand, give her swiftness, and just go.
Right.
Yeah, it's another free like 700 damage because she's a 7. What is her stats? She's a 7 attack, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's 7s.
Yeah, but it's like just an extra free 700 damage every time you contract Asuka. And so the idea, honestly, that you can also use this card multiple times in a single turn, like one copy of it, because of Asuka's already contract looping a lot. So you'll like contract, put Asuka into play, cast this for free to give her swiftness, swing with everything.
Yeah,
use the contract to kill the Asuka you just contracted, contract that. Bring this card back to your hand, cast it,
do it again.
Like, it's just more pressure for Asuka to like beat down people. And like, she has graveyard hate, but like she's already been pivoting pretty hard with the errata on wall. She's already been pivoting pretty hard from decks that I've seen back to Paramita. So like she has protection for the grave, which is just fine. So this is not that she needs it, but like there's no reason to not play like one copy or two copies of this in Asuka. It's just like
to close out. It's extra
you're
damage.
Gonna mill it. Like you're gonna mill it. It's fine.
It's interesting that the pay 0 isn't optional.
Yeah, it's mandatory.
It's mandatory. You pay 0 if you put a J ruler into the field from a contract.
Yep. Just
so you can't like try to make it safe from Windchild, but
yes.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's certainly the first time they haven't done a May like that, right? Which is very interesting. Next, go ahead.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. So with that stipulation, if there's a Gary on board, which one is it checking now?
It'll check total cost of the card, which is 2.
2. Okay, just make sure. Okay.
The total cost of the card is still a 2-drop. You're just finding a replacement cost for it. Yep. Yep, for sure. Garion can't stop that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Cost reduction doesn't factor into cards' total cost when you're putting it on the chase.
Well, I was trying to remember. I was like, does that actually factor into? Okay, cool.
No, it does not. So next up we have the regular. Oh no, that's end of book. We have just the regular set artwork of Replicant Scheherazade. We've talked about this card before. Hot take. Question for you guys: which artwork do you like better, this one or the buy box?
Ooh.
I like the buy box one better, to be honest.
I do like the buy box one. But this one in full art looks much like Eviler.
Sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let me see this in full art, and then I can make a final. But I'm
fair enough.
Go towards the buy box one, but that's because it's like I see. Everything.
I like the buy box one because of like the very clear, like machiney kind of look, and like the way her
doll
book...
joints.
The doll joints, and like the book looks very like mechanical and synthetic.
That's fair.
Like that to me, I just really like that aesthetic. Is like I really like that. So let's find out in the chat what you guys like. Which artwork do you like better? But let's talk about her support card that came with her. Oh no, so let's go with this card first. This was Generate Replicant. 1 green. Quick cast, search your deck for a resonator with total cost X or less and put it into the field. Any resonator, by the way, where X is the number of times you already played a card named Sword of Progression this game, then shuffle your deck. So when we saw this card printed, I said, so here's what we did to make Olga. We took Pricia's Big Show, and the Feathsing mulliganing ability, and we watered them down, spread them out over multiple cards, and made a new ruler.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm wrong. Olga is just Feith Singh plus Priscia's Big Show as a deck.
Seems pretty accurate, not gonna lie.
Which I'm here for.
Yeah.
I don't mind it at all. It's fine.
It's definitely neat.
I mean, it makes it fair, I guess.
Yeah, Generate Replicant to me feels it's a normal, and it feels like a normal because it's unless that one random rare that hasn't been spoiled that like counts as casting, Sword of Progression, or like until Olga sees something like that that is essentially like his Griffin, like he's gonna have to go into another color to keep himself alive,
right?
To be able to, or like find a lot more ways to recycle Sword of Progression. So he's gonna be very like, again, the big bad evil guy that you just cannot let get to the late game, because if you do, like, you are just going to lose.
Yeah, it's definitely a critical mass deck.
Yeah,
for sure. And just the fact that this card can literally grab any Resonator is like,
Yeah, I saw that too. Because at first I was like, "Oh, is it just like the Shahrazad card?" I was like, "Oh no, it's
nope,
any Resonator,
any of them.
So it could be almost a toolbox deck with.
Yeah.
Huh. That's interesting.
Next up, we have End of Book, which I think is a really, really important card for him. 1 green quick cast. Choose 1. If this card was played with Mastery, choose 2 instead. Put a card from the bottom of your deck on top of your deck, and then draw a card, or destroy target addition. And it has Mastery, Replicant, Scheherazade. Scheherazade being the pay 0 ability of take a card from your graveyard and put it on the bottom of your deck. This and Scheherazade are an automatic 4-of in every Olga deck. Like, no question, they are a mandatory 4-of for Olga.
It's already 8 cards now.
Yeah, plus 4 Sword of Progressions, like 12 cards in the deck.
Right.
12 cards in the deck, ready to go. Let's go.
Oof,
the rest of them were counterspells.
Counterspell that deck has never been good.
I know.
So
I mean, and then how many editions do we run? I mean, we're already going to take one and have one in the side deck.
Probably 2. Probably 2.
2 more, yeah.
So we got like 25 cards to play around with, right? That's plenty of room.
Yeah.
Yeah, and End of Book is, to me, insane. Because also keep in mind the fact, here's the piece of things, right? If I cast Sword of Progression, I then can cast Scheherazade for 1, and then I can cast End of Book for 0. So I can pay 2 will to cast Sword of Progression, get a body on board, and bring Sword of Progression back to my hand. So like that's actually pretty good. Like as an engine to like help him keep using Sword of Progression over and over again. Like that's actually pretty good.
And Sherry replaces itself. No, Sherry gets an extra body.
Sherry gets an extra body when she's cast based on Sword of Progression.
Sword replaces itself, and End of Book replaces itself with Sword.
Well, yes, End of Book becomes a new sword. Yeah. Which then will replace itself.
Yeah.
Like, there's an engine here, which is one of the reasons why we said, like, the thing that we're waiting on to really take Olga to a place of, like, oh, yeah, this guy's going to have legs competitively is, does he have ways to either search out Sword of Progression insanely fast or have other ways to count, essentially replacement effects for the consideration of how many swords you've cast. That's going to be the biggest thing for him.
I think another unique use of this card is using the mulligan system to hide a card at the bottom of your deck from a discard deck.
Ooh, I do like that idea of like, oh, I'll need this. Like, if I'm not a deck that shuffles, I can like mulligan so that the very bottom card is a card that I need, and like I'll find this later.
Well, this is also quick cast. So even if like you're shuffling your deck, like if before you shuffle, you can still cast this and be like, I want this card.
Yeah. That's very neat. That's a very neat consideration with this card. Yeah, the mulligan, which is, again, let's go back to the fact that I was like a watered down Feith Sing, and then you have this, and you're like, yeah, same kind of thing. Hand selection is key.
So the thing, I kind of want to see more of the replicants now. I want to see what other tools that he has.
Yeah, I want to see
It's
more.
gonna be Lumia.
Imul.
It's gonna be Lumia, obviously.
Imul. Excuse me. It's gonna be Imul.
I mean,
It's not Lumia. It's Imul.
I do remember. No, it's Scarlet Stone. Yeah, it's gonna be Imul.
Yeah.
yeah, true.
Of course, I'm already committed to buying this set. So of course I'm gonna look for 4 of these full arts. Doesn't care if I'm actually playing the deck, but I want 4.
I hate that you're taunting me in the background with that Lumia banner. Beat me by like 5 minutes on the marketplace to pick that up. Gosh dang it. But yeah, for sure. This I mean, it also looks just very, very fun. Like, which I'm very excited for it as well. Plus, like, the time spinning witch versions of Scarlet, Scheherazade, and Lumia, or Enimel were like some of my favorite characters. Like, I really just liked their design, so it's nice to see. So next up we have Keeper of Dynamics, 1 green, 1 colorless, 7/7 with Drain. Recover up to X entities, where X is the number of times you've cast Sword of Progression. When this card is put into the graveyard from the field, you gain, or put into a graveyard from the field, you gain 1,000 life. So it's a nice little double blocker. I really wish this was a replicant. Like, the fact that it's just a human, I mean, this is a nice little card for, like, you maybe play a couple of it in, like, Reanimator Brunhild, just so you have other humans to hit to, like, just better flush it out. But, like, by itself, it's not super great. If this was a replicant, though, it would be really, really
too good, honestly.
Too good?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah, because then you could cheat it out.
You could
cheat
it out with Scheherazade and then recover the stones that you already tapped to play Scheherazade, and then keep going.
Yeah, for sure. So good on you, I Spy, for not making it a replicant.
Right.
Because you're right, Pat, that would be insane. But this card's a very good card for limited. Like, very good card for limited. Probably going in the cube.
I heard, is Sword of Progression going in the cube?
No, absolutely not.
We're just gonna have it die and gain 1,000 life. Yeah, that seems pretty good for the cube.
Hey.
Well, I mean, don't forget, I'd also have to then include Magog.
That's true.
Like, otherwise, you just, like, a 1-drop green card that is a draw a card. That's in the cube.
Yep.
Just one green draw card. Yeah, I mean, this card's okay. Nothing to shake a stick at.
Yeah.
Not every card can be a banger. Next up we have Keeper of Static. 2 green, 7/7, quick cast. Cancel target spell or activate or automatic ability unless its controller pays X, where X is the number of times you've already played Sword of Progression this game. When this card goes into a graveyard from the field, prevent all damage that would be dealt by target J/Resonator your opponent controls until end of turn. This card is a 4 of in Olga.
I was gonna say, I actually really
really neat.
I actually really like this card. Like even if you were to block with something, it's like, cool, I'm gonna block. It's like, oh well, get it out the way. It's like, cool, you're not gonna take any damage.
It blocks 2 things. It blocks
Right.
2 things, right? Like, that's already a value. Like, for a deck that needs to get to the late game, having a body that's quick cast that blocks 2, that, like, turns off 2 things is, like, huge.
Fantastic.
Like, on top of the fact that as the game goes longer, this just becomes a better Kaguya.
It was really good.
Yeah, this card is
Speaking
just, like, better Kaguya.
Speaking of Kaguya, I actually like this card a little bit in a different deck, which is Order Kaguya with Absorbing Knowledge with it.
Ooh,
because
that's true.
You can order it to make it uncancelable unless they have an ability cancel. Oh, actually, never mind, because you need to have Sword of Progression. Bad idea. You can still
That's a terrible idea.
Or Absorbing Knowledge, and you can kill it, draw 2 cards, and make sure you fog for the turn.
Yeah, no, I think this card's just fine. This card for sure is definitely going into the cube because of that fog effect. Like, it's just a solid, like, cube era limited card. And, like, I really like this card a lot. I think this card is obviously I also think this guy is a standard 4 of in Olka decks, just because he provides so much of, like, early game and late game value. Like, this guy's just never a dead draw.
Yeah.
Which to me is, like,
not getting blown out of water, especially like early game against, like, what's that deck? I'm trying to think of it right now.
Berserker?
Jesus Christ. So what?
Berserker?
Yeah, Berserker. Like, not getting blown out of water early against Berserker is key. And I feel like this card right here would help that.
Yeah, for sure. This card is very, very good.
Mm.
And he also looks sick. Like,
He does.
The
very,
art's really good.
very sick artwork on this one. Someone show up to FowFest with that as your cosplay. Please.
Yeah, but you got to be ripped.
You gotta. I got 10 months. Let's go. What if
Exactly.
I'm gonna do it? That's my goal.
Oh,
you know?
you could definitely
do
pull
it
this
in
off
10 months.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So then we have a couple other just kind of really generic cards here. We'll go into really quick. We have the Aggressor from the future. 1-cost green gears, quick cast 4/4 with Pierce. Gains +4/+4 for every single time a card named Sword of Regression was played this game. It's a gears.
Not the gears I was looking for, but sure.
It's a gears.
I
mean,
know
it's
why they slapped
okay.
Pierce on it, but it has Pierce.
Yeah, I mean, one drop quick cast 16/16, but by the time we cast Sword of Progression 4 times, we've already won the game. So like, they can't all be bangers, right?
This is true.
They can't all be bangers.
I mean, really, I'm just looking at him as like a one-drop 8/8. Like I don't care about it, as he's a 1-drop 8/8 quick cast with Pierce.
Yeah, that's not bad. Not bad.
Yeah.
If you need to fill out space in the Olga deck, I could see you using this card.
Right.
To like help flesh out the space. Let's talk about a card that is truly going to see no play, although it does have an adorable card art. This is Growing Egg. It is a 1-drop 0/0 egg resonator, which now means we have 2 egg resonators because now Alice is an egg.
Yeah, Rook Egg though, isn't it?
Is Rook Egg an egg?
Wasn't it?
Well, now we have 3 egg resonators. We can make an omelet. We have 3 of them. We can make an omelet. This card gains +2/+2 for each sun protection entity, ruler, or ruler you control. Enter this card game. If this card's attack is 1200 or greater, draw a card. Gosh, I wish that said draw 2. Like, if it said draw 2, then, like, maybe.
Would have felt better about it, yeah.
But the fact that it cantrips only is like...
On, turn, 5?
The earliest you could get to it would be... You'd have to have 6.
Two kids.
You'd have to have 6.
2 kids and 4 stones. No,
so
2 kids, 3 stones, and Magog.
So turn 3. On turn 3, you can play a 1-drop 12/12 that cantrips.
This is just worse than Phantasmal Alice, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Or stop turning people into egg. Yeah. Yeah. This card is, I mean, adorable artwork. Don't get me wrong. It's beautiful. Absolutely. But just not playable. Play it in limited.
Playable.
Play it in limited.
Would you even play it in limited?
Yeah.
No. If you had to fill out your limited deck.
I wouldn't play this limited. It's a 0/0.
We'll see.
I'd rather play off color.
I would not slot this in even if you hold a gun to my head.
That's fair.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about some stones.
Absolutely.
So we have Magic Stone of Progress. Tap to produce wind. Pay 0. This card becomes a 15/15 resonator with Eternal until end of turn. It is still a Magic Stone. Play this ability only if you control a card named Genesis Chrono Gear. This card existing is one of the reasons why that Genesis card that we talked about before to give him swiftness suddenly becomes a 2 of.
Don't really care.
You don't really need it because if you're getting to the late game, you probably have 4 of this stone. And keep in mind the fact that Magog, or when he flips, he will recover 2 stones. So you can use these to produce the will for him and then recover them and then animate them and then swing in, right? So
crazy.
we're gonna make a big old mech, and then we're just gonna throw a bunch of stones at you.
You have to point out that's a mono stone.
It is a mono green stone, and he also can't filter because Sun Children can't filter.
It is also not a wind magic stone.
It does not count as a wind magic stone. That is correct.
Mm-hmm.
This card's cool. Also gorgeous.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Hope it stays like this. Without all the text box ruining it.
I just realized that it kind of looks like Genesis.
Yes, it very much does.
Mm.
It looks like it very much.
Where's my Genesis?
Where's my Genesis? There's my Genesis. Next up, we have Magic Stone of the Eclipse. Hey, boys, been playing this game for 7 to 8 years. Game's been out for 10 years. We finally have a fetch stone.
Man.
Everybody applause. Everybody finally
the
have a
anniversary
fetch
edition.
stone.
Just give me this.
And it's pretty okay.
It is okay.
Tap, pay 200 life, and banish this card, : so that is the cost. Search your Magic Stone deck for a basic Magic Stone or Sun Protection Magic Stone, not named Magic Stone of the Eclipse. Put it into the field, then shuffle your Magic Stone deck. This card is okay. This card is cool, really actually cool for decks that use Phantasmal Ascendant. And decks named Goose Ballesta.
I was gonna say Goose Ballesta players are salivating right now.
Yeah, Goose Ballesta players love this stone because they don't care about it not producing will on the turn it comes into play, because they will just grab it as their first stone and it will be able to produce any color, and then next turn they will sack it and get a different stone instead. It's pretty neat for like some diversity elements for Goose Ballesta. It just gives, it's some stone deck thinning, which is honestly kind of cool for Goose. Phantasmal Ascendant also doesn't hate this card because you'll like get it off Phantasmal and then sack it and go get a basic stone to replace it. That's permanent from Phantasmal.
Absolutely.
There's also some silly stuff that you can do with this card with Spirit Meditation or Forest Meditation. It's just inherently riskier than the old plays we just used to do with Forest Meditation because of the fact that it's activate abilities and that these don't produce will for Forest Meditation. Like, it's inherently, like, if you get it to go off, it's kind of crazy, but it is risky to go for it.
When you were saying Phantasmal Ascendant, I thought you were saying Phantasmal Scarlet for some reason, and I'm like,
not Phantasmal
Scarlet. Scarlet needs a Darkness Magic Stone to banish. What?
No.
This also only grabs monocolor stones so far as we know, so it's still
correct.
Okay.
I really hope there's a way for the new rulers to protect the stone's effect.
Yeah, so it can't be canceled.
It could still be low-rated or feast.
That's true.
Yeah,
I mean,
Roderick over here, patiently waiting for Shayla 3.0 and Carmen Sandiego.
Well,
that's a good one. I like that. I hadn't thought about that.
I'm waiting for the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah,
the rest of our spoilers coming up.
Yeah, we're about to talk about this. I mean, like, it's cool. Like, this card is cool. Like, I think it's a very cool inclusion to limited. I probably honestly put it into the cube as a stone for limited. It works just fine as a stone for that, because a lot of the times when we're playing the cube, you just have a basic stone, and like most of your deck is basic stones anyway, unless you're like Patrick and get greedy as hell and draft every special magic stone you see, and then still lose the cube anyway. It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
I had
Don't worry
fun.
about it.
I just grabbed stuff so that other people couldn't have it.
Yeah, for sure. But like, it's cool. It's cool to explore this space. So always like seeing something a little bit different. Again, also like more like we've explored the fetch lands and man stones as well, which is very interesting. Gives us a look into the future of stones. Woo! Yeah, for sure. Okay, so that's all of Olga's stuff. You guys ready to talk about
heresy?
You guys ready to talk about heretics?
I'm about to say,
let's go. So this is Actor Dry, or Actor Dry, based on how we want to pronounce this guy. Savior Child. Ooh, gross. Partner 2 Sunchild Child. J/resonators with no +1/+1 counters on them. Both sides, keep that in mind. Gain Famine. We don't know what famine is. But it's probably a keyword in the similar sense of like Tails villains.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Tails villains, Will of Hope, Will of Despair, Weather, where it's just kind of like a status kind of keyword, where like having it kind of helps you like classify things.
Right.
And so
he's
just a labeler. Which is interesting to me. Design wise, it's very like the character card art wise, like really gives off that creepy cult vibes.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't draft tribal
creepy
rats in the
pastor.
cube. It wasn't good. Yeah, you're not wrong. Don't draft tribal wraths in the power cube.
And the first look or first thoughts, and this is before I see anything else. So very wide speculation there. I almost expect to see like maybe like a death and taxes type of ruler, type of cards out of this guy right here. And
White has
if I'm
been that
wrong, I'm wrong.
before, right?
But
White has had that identity before of being the
Mhm,
taxes ruler. So,
mhm,
I mean, we still have Road of the Sacred Queen that's still played occasionally.
mhm.
right. Mhm.
I'm saying I'm pulling out all my Obruzuki support for this thing.
Just give yourself +1/+1s just to be like, ah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. This card's cool.
Flute
His-
gets even more. Oh, Flute in this deck sounds great.
Flute also does
Oh
get
my
very good for
God.
this deck, right?
Yeah.
Give +1/+1s whenever you want. Next up, we have his Moonchild, which is the Child of Famine, aka Little Dog Punk Boy. So, God's Art, False Glory, pay 0, put 2 +1/+1 counters on each J/Resonator you control. Can anyone say Exorcist Mage?
Oh boy.
Yep.
That card is about to come back in a very big way. Because now we just have ways to protect it, right?
At instant speed for free.
For any of these new rulers, you just have this potential to be able to instant speed protect a Exorcist Mage, which with the creation of like Exorcist Mage was really good, and then Sealed One-Eyed Dragon got played, and then it became kind of meh. But now we have ways to like counter that, and so I can see Exorcist Mage coming back in a really, really big way, which would be very, very cool. Especially if this deck is also already playing Flute, right? Because it wants to give +1 counters anyway. So you have just like a bunch of ways to protect the Exorcist Mage. It's very, very cool. I like it a lot. The Yellow God Lopsovitz. Yes, I remember your ridiculously crazy fake ruler, Alejandro. Leia Wolf is good here. Even the Sunchild looks like his kid. Yeah, that's true. Leia Wolf might be a good ruler, a card for him as well.
Red White's been a good swarm color combination for a while.
For sure. And it's
you
not
used
like
all like
so
the token generation support from Mika and stuff.
Yeah, it's also not like insane. Like it's like +2/+2 to a Y board isn't like insane. It feels very fair. Which I really like. I just really can't wait to see exactly what we're gonna see from like Famine. Just exactly what else is gonna kind of be. Like, is it gonna be stuff costs less if your opponent has more stuff with Famine, or like what's it gonna be? Or like Steven said in the chat, can't attack or block, or don't recover, or lose abilities, or what does it mean to be in Famine? I'm gonna have to go make a new keyword moniker video, but that's why we did all the YouTube
their
shorts.
own little videos.
That's why we did all the YouTube shorts to set up in advance the ability to say, oh, a new keyword, I will do a minute-long video explaining it and stay caught up. Like, done. Piece of cake. And then the last card we saw for tonight is the Age of Famine. He does not start with this edition. And it just says, enter, draw a card, rest target, tap, rest target J/Resonator with Famine. So already that, like, ways to tap stuff down, which is already in theme for White anyway. White has a lot of tap down effects. I'm really glad this thing doesn't start in play because of the fact that it draws a card.
I was say another 1-drop edition that draws a card on enter.
Well, it's not. Yeah, so many of them. So I mean, it's neat. Just like the first. Yeah, glad you talked about Exorcist Mage Ramos. Yeah, for sure. Just like with Magog, like seems like a fun 1-drop edition, right? Really, just we've barely scratched the surface of even just a teasing of what Culty Boy is going to bring to the table. So it leaves me interested to see what's next.
I don't know why the guy gives me I forget what the the guy from Bleach, the guy who is with who do you say? Gene, yes. I don't know why he just gives me them vibes right now.
It's the pointy chin. It's the very
Maybe.
pointy chin to
It
me.
has to be.
Just like,
It's almost like the foxy kind of
yeah.
eyes a little bit. Yeah.
It's neat. It's very neat,
Yeah.
and I'm all for having a Death and Taxes style ruler back. Right, stun is a fun archetype to play, and we've had some rulers and some decks that have tried to get there, or like play stacks.
Like
But
Reinhardt exists.
Reinhardt is kind of like that, yeah, for sure. He's more like, I don't really necessarily know if I would consider him a Death and Taxes. I would consider him
No.
more just like a stacks kind of list.
Right.
But like this feels like it's truly going to be Death and Taxes, which I'm like, I'm here for it. I'm here for it for sure. Very, very neat stuff. Let's see. Today is the 23rd, which means 7 days from now, next week. Oh man, that's unfortunate. Well, I'll have to double check, because if I can post them, we might have some very special stuff to show off next office hours. If I'm told that I'm working on Japan time again as opposed to US time. I'll have to look into that, because if I'm working on Japan time, then next week we get to, on top of whatever the spoilers are for this week, get to see
Monthly promos?
the 5 Ruler School exclusive spoilers that we were given.
Aha.
They gave us
Oh,
5
boy.
this time to spoil.
Oh.
So we'll have to see. I'll have to
That's
ask if I'm allowed to share those next week. Otherwise, there'll be a video on Tuesday showing them off. So you'll have to wait till then. But any last thoughts, boys, as we kind of close out the night? Cool cards. I mean, nothing like blows me out of the water. But honestly,
Yeah, not yet.
like it's all exciting, but not
Like
a good spoiler season to me is exciting, but not scared.
right.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Pretty
Like,
sure.
and I think so far I am excited but not scared, which is great.
I mean, cool inclusion of fetch card after all these years, but you know.
Yeah,
It's
some
kinda
people were like, "Oh, this card's so abusable," and I'm like,
No,
card seems
absolutely not.
Card
I think
seems
I
average.
think it's worded pretty well.
Yeah, the fact that there's
for
an
what it
inherent
is, yeah.
risk to it, like
Yeah.
it doesn't work like Gru's Ballesta did before the errata.
I think in seeing most of Olga's support first kind of gets me excited to see what other colors a replicant might be in, if they like fill one replicant in every other color,
Sure.
Right.
or it gets me excited kind of see what else is coming in the set, because Olga by himself is like, okay, I understand where this is going. Where else are we going?
Yes, for
Right.
sure. For sure.
Yeah, like a replicant build versus just like the cancel-esque build would be pretty dope, I think.
So far, you haven't seen the warhorse of this set. Yeah, that's what I mean by like excited but not scared. Like,
Right.
I want an entire set to come and go where I'm just like, yep.
That happened.
Which honestly, set 2 was that for me too. Like when it all was said and done, I was like, yep, this is cool stuff, but I'm not like crazy about it.
Did we even know Warhorse was gonna be that broken when it first got reviewed? Anyways,
I mean,
feel
we saw it, and immediately people were like,
All right, so how do we break
made a
this thing?
Yeah,
Right.
everyone immediately were like, how do we break it? There was nothing really in set 2. Like, I know that a bunch of people were on set 2 were all about Layla coming back, which I think we've already seen. Like 2 cards to me that I think people hyper fixated on, like pre-release of set 2, were Layla and Memory of Worlds, the Reflect contract.
Absolutely.
And honestly, in practice, like real world practice in games, and seeing like decks with good and bad matchups and how people have adjusted and everything else, both of those cards have been fine. Like, not broken by any means. Like, good, but I mean, cards are allowed to be good, but not like scary, not like Warhorse level where it's just like play this or you lose, right? Which to me is fine. Like, strong cards are allowed to exist.
Like Origins.
Or I was gonna say Origin, Drywing.
Yeah, or nothing like Origins Drywing or anything else like that. Yeah, for sure. So far nothing. If we can go through a spoiler season where I don't see anything like that, if we can go to back-to-back spoiler seasons where I don't see anything like that, we're on the right path.
Seems legit.
Yeah. So That is that. We
Cool.
do this week. We are doing a feature match between 101 card Typhon
Oh boy.
versus Leia Wolf Nyarlathotep.
Hey, I like that.
Order Nyarlathotep with Leia Wolf. Honestly, I was pleasantly surprised with how that matchup went. It is going to be a very enjoyable feature match for people. I think people are going to be. We've had people asking for a Darkness deck, and if people asked us to go back and check out Gnarly again, and Paul Clute really came through with a really cool build for Gnarly, and the matchup between them is surprisingly fun. So I think people are going to really like that match. And then deck profiles as always. So that'll be it for us for tonight. Thank you all so much for joining us. As always, I have been DMO73, and I've been joined by Patrick Ogrins.
Have a nice night, everybody.
And Babatunde Otomosu.
See you guys.
Until next time, class dismissed.
Peace.